Hi, I'm Chris McIntyre, and this is Almost Above Average. For the majority of my adult life, I was up to no good and was definitely in need of a change. I failed many times trying to change on my own, but it was listening to others that finally got me headed in the right direction. Being able to listen and take advice saved my life, and I'm still listening. I'm seeking out interesting people, stories, and experiences to share with my audience in hopes that you too will learn something to add value to your life. Thank you for tuning in, and get ready for another action-packed episode of Almost Above Average with Chris McIntyre. Please share with a loved one, and we would really appreciate a 5-star review. Thank you, and enjoy. Now let's jump into this week's episode of Thoughtful Thursdays on Almost Above Average with Dr. Joe Shepard. Enjoy. Guys, you got to work for it. You got to stay in the space. And June is Men's Mental Health Month, right?
Yeah, it's men's health and mental health awareness.
Oh, men's health and mental health awareness. Right. That's awesome.
And so that worked right up our alley. So June was created for us.
Right.
For these spaces. Thank you, June. Shout out to June 2024.
Oh, yeah.
Classic piece here. I'm especially excited in that we are gearing up. We are headed right into Father's Day.
Right.
And so one of my favorite holidays. I don't celebrate a bunch of them, but it used to be my favorite because it's like,
recognize me.
Flowers, everything. Yeah. Do you have any ideas? Whatever you can think, all the things that you can think of.
Yep.
Yeah, all of the things.
Of course.
Talking about it. See all this room we have here? Fill it up.
Yeah.
My dad has always been one of my favorite jobs. Yeah. My absolute favorite job. I say one of them because I have several children. So it's like, yes, you're my favorite job. You're the coolest job I've ever had. You, my guy, use money because you keep me grounded. And everyone knows who they are. Yeah. Being a dad that's my jam. I do everything so that I can be a better dad. Right. And so I have on my Marine Dad shirt today. My oldest son is stationed in Camp Lejeune.
Thank him for his service.
Fox Company, thank you.
Yeah.
And so we're excited today. But I am dad because of my father. And so I speak a lot about individuals who have made impressions upon me, my spiritual mentors or the professors I had in school. I've been on podcasts and have spoken very heavily in the past about my uncle who passed away several years ago. He was on the path of here's the standard of what you produce and how you can speak and what's acceptable. But most recently, it was on me to make more notable mention of my father. Mm-hmm. And I wish I had done so sooner. But for my brothers, shout out to the Sons of Thunders, my dad would call us, for my brothers and for the Papa's grandchildren. I wanted to make sure that I made mention of him, my father. Hey, having lost him last year physically, but turning to your dad at some point. And
man, I know.
No one told me. And so it's eerie.
Yeah.
Teeth just looks different in the mirror. It's like, oh, there you are. Cool beans. A little notice next time. Would have appreciated something.
Do you try to, when you find yourself doing your father's, he says things or movements or whatever, right. Do you find yourself trying to change that or accepting it more now?
Accepting it more now.
Right.
Before, obviously, I was like, I
do that again. Yeah, no, that's my dad.
So I get when my sons do it. They'll catch themselves doing something like me, like, something totally opposite just to have a line of demarcation.
Yeah.
My dad's thing, I'm not into that. And so now I'm 40, and because I'm going to be 40 for a while. I'm 40 for a few years. I'm going to be 40 for a few months.
Probably going to be 40 for like 20 years at 40.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think
I'll start at 41.
Right. I think that's fair.
Reasonable.
Right. Absolutely. And so, 40. I'm your 40.
The length of time that you were 40.
Right. At 40, you pretty much turn into your parent. At least I walk to the car like him. I start whistling when I'm making my coffee. It's ridiculous. All of the things that used to annoy me. Here he goes with that. And now I am here he goes with that guy.
Yeah.
Don't laugh at your father. Which is what my father used to say all the time.
Right.
It's and now you can only smile. Right. And what I like to employ or leave with the audience is you have to love your parents. Love on them as much as absolutely possible. Parents, I was explaining in a mentorship conversation, the stress that's on parents to perform well and for their children to be productive, which would be their level of success, is more than what any child can imagine. Hey, you know that I've done well when you succeed. Until you're succeeding, I don't know that I've done well. And I'm going to try to squeeze more of whatever I have to make sure that you can be everything that you know that you can be. And, we're perfect people. And a lot of times we don't imagine our parents as people. But parents give to you life, a structure, lessons that you hated, break the leaves, cut the back in before you leave the house, no parties, no this, no that. All of the disciplines that we weren't able to appreciate.
Framing for childhood.
Right. Were you there? My dad would get us hyped to do the chores.
Oh, I was like, I had cartoons, man. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, there were cartoons in the beginning, and then when I was a teenager,
you're labor ready.
Saturday was different.
Yeah.
I was willing to say, as soon as you heard the music, yeah, he'd be pumped.
Y'all ready?
Y'all
ready for this?
We got a big day.
Yeah.
We had a big day. A big what?
Oh man.
I don't know if I'm gonna.
I think I'm gonna
make it. Let me talk to mom.
Yeah. Gatekeeper.
Right. That's what that was. Yeah, he fighting you for the kill.
Yeah.
Don't worry, he left me a list too. You got a list too? And qualities that those moments that we terrified of as teenagers are now what I rest on as a father.
Right.
It's out of security that house is running smooth. If everyone's responsible for their thing. Yeah. Do my part.
Bathroom, you got kitchen, you got dishes.
Hey, leave. Cool, party. Yeah, not that. When I leave, make sure you handle the bathroom, take out the trash, do such and such and such. Yeah, that had nothing to do with my agenda. I'm sure. Now, mind you, I love you, but please have those things done if you don't have to. And I was that guy. And there's nothing about a teenager that appreciates that.
Right.
And my son said something to me, my oldest son, a couple weeks ago. He came back from base. He was there weekend, and hopefully he's here this weekend. And he said, I'm grateful to be followed in the category of appreciation. These phrases that you're like.
That's what I was going to say. That phrase is amazing.
It floored me.
Yeah.
Found in the category of appreciation. It still resonated. Shout out to the dream out there. And I was like, I am found in the category of appreciation for my dad. It was just a late finally.
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to be later. So it's really important that you do everything you can now.
Yeah, I mean that now too, since father also passed away last year, and it's now I'm looking at him like, okay, I was wrong about the stuff that I thought he didn't give me, because he really taught me a ton of things, and I was looking at the things that he didn't do, But now that I'm 40, I can see it why he didn't. He wasn't that guy. Like, see him as a person now, like you said, like actually look at him as a person now. I wish I would have done that when he was alive, but
And I wish I had more of a capacity to be more fair to him, because my dad gave me everything he had, and to say thank you, give me more. Like this, you're just so bratty.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, that's everything you got. When you can have some more, then holler at me.
Yeah, building credit, like future money.
What now? Yeah. And or the presumption we'll have more time and we'll get it together later. That's when you get your act together, right?
Right.
And so to wait for someone to be perfect for you before you can love them or before you can embrace them, very, very shallow. And in my father's passing, I realized how shallow I was as a human being, because I didn't want to put out my content unless it was perfect. I didn't want to showcase any relationship I was in if I didn't feel like it was perfect. I didn't praise any of my accomplishments because that wasn't the pinnacle.
That was expected of you, right?
Correct, right, exactly. And then also, I wasn't able to accept, because I wasn't able to accept me, I also wasn't able to accept my family members that were imperfect, which is my father had imperfections. I didn't embrace that. Therefore, if my children had imperfections,
you wouldn't embrace those either.
Embrace that either.
That's you two resentment almost.
Get it right, get it right, get it right, get it right, get it right. And so now the child has to get it right just to be accepted by the parent.
Yeah.
And that's wild.
Yeah.
And then the parent has to get it right to be accepted by the son. And that's wild. And so, in wanting to be a better parent, it made me want to be a better son. Because to wait for perfection before you show love that's not it.
Doesn't have
that right.
Well, hey, Get ready for a whirlwind of excitement and insight with the AWFL podcast, where hosts me, Chris McIntyre, and Lonnie Doyle bring you engaging discussions on content creation, podcast editing, tech trends, apparel designs, and all things technology. While over at the Partial Intelligence podcast, Jason Kahn and myself dive into music, sports, hip-hop beats, and heartfelt family matters. It's a roller coaster of entertainment and enlightenment that you won't want to miss. Subscribe now to the Awful Podcast and Partial Intelligence on your favorite podcast platform and join us for a journey through the worlds of creativity, technology, music, and life. AWFL Podcast and Partial Intelligence, available anywhere you get your podcasts. Your ticket to warm, exciting, and diverse content awaits. Tune in today. Now let's jump back into the episode of Almost Above Average with Chris McIntyre.
Can do is start accepting you and your imperfections.
Yeah.
And stop trying to hide behind all of these smoke and mirrors of accomplishment.
Yeah.
That would keep you protected, right? Because all I want people to see is Dr. Joe. I just want them to see me at my greatest.
Yeah.
And so, perfect. It's not really my showcase, right? So if you show up, you're like, hey, this is just me. I'm imperfect. Take it or leave it. I'm like, yeah, you got over there.
Yeah.
I'm still busy trying to hide. Right? And so therefore, it makes me difficult to embrace someone who's genuine and authentic.
Right. That's interesting.
I have a lot of relationships and business opportunities and personal connections because those individuals were raw and genuine. And I was like, hey,
You were ready.
you're going to have to tone it down because we don't get to be raw over here. We get to be polished.
Yeah.
Positive. Presentation as such.
There's a box around this. You can't get in it unless you're focused.
Children are out the box. Our father's out the box. And everyone's like, dude, whether you know it or not, you're out the box. You are just hiding in the box. Why don't you come out here and we can actually have a good time?
Yeah, it's only you inside the box that thinks you're inside the box.
Right. Only you think we should be in there with you.
Yeah.
And so you look around from your box lens, like, they should get in the box with me. My dad should get in the box with me. My children will be safer if they were in the box with me. Hey, beautiful, I'm in my box. And it's like,
but I got a box.
you know what I'm saying? Everyone's like, well, I have a life.
Right.
My life isn't going to fit in your box. Meanwhile, why are you hiding in that box?
Mm-hmm.
It's not protecting you. It's keeping you from being able to experience this world outside of your box. And my dad was an out-of-the-box guy, and I didn't know how to embrace that. And sometimes my children get out-of-the-box things, so I was out of my dad's box. That was very difficult. And making people want to be more like you so you can embrace them is...
It sounds psychotic when you say it like that.
Narcissistic, psychotic, sadistic thing. And we can do it all in the name of care,
Family, and the name,
uniformity. There is some structure that's necessary, but you don't have to think like me before I can befriend you. In family, we do that a lot because, hey, this is expected to be where we are alike. And so we go through, my father and I would go through periods of time where we just didn't talk. And I grieve those moments more than anything else. It's like, dude, what? It's like, yeah, he doesn't say the wrong thing if I call. He was going to say the thing that you didn't want to hear or that you didn't have space for because it was his thing. So you didn't have space for him. Because you wanted him to have space for you. So until he had space for you, he wasn't going to call. So, okay.
Yeah.
How's that feel when you know? Make sure you provide space for even if it doesn't benefit you. That would be what we call love. It's like, imagine that. Imagine if we provided space for someone and there was no benefit to us. It was just for them to be able to feel seen and heard.
Right.
And I don't think that was something I was able to do for my dad.
I agree with that sentiment for my dad.
And I don't want anything for my children. My children are great. This is for those individuals who have struggled with any parent or any authority, any guardian or caregiver, where you may feel let down and that individual may not have been able to have space for you in your moment. And because that's all you wanted from them, you have your hand out, you're also not able to have space for them in their moment. And if you're an adult, you get to offer space, even if someone doesn't offer space to you. And there's a lot of this match energy, the same energy that's given, and I think that's horrible. Because love doesn't lose that right.
You can't love me like I envision you loving me. There's no way.
I can only love you the way I would want to be loved. And I think every spiritual discipline speaks something to that, whether doing to others as you wish they did for you. It is, I'll do to you what you did to me. You missed my call, so I'm going to look at you, call me, and not answer because. And that's where we are. Just when we spread that toxic gospel across.
It takes one of you to drop that in order to fix that.
Right. And, my father, he would drop these gems that I couldn't receive at the time. And he would say this, he would say, you can be right, or you can make it right.
I like that. That's a powerful quote.
I mean, he had to do it with just, he's like Germany with the bumps. He would just have them. But it was hard for me to accept because we would be in these awkward spaces where we hadn't made it right yet.
Right.
But he would have all the things that would, if I had this capacity, that would have made it okay.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, no, you have a good reason for how you feel. And you can hold on to that and use that as your argument, and the jury will hear your statement. And you can vote, and we can go through all those semantics. And you can be right. Or you can drop that self-righteousness and make it right with the other person you care about. And I only learned that from my dad when I asked him how to deal with the situation with my son.
Interesting.
Imagine that.
Interesting.
Imagine that. Imagine hey, I know we're not here, but you probably have more experience with teenagers than I do. So, teenagers who look like you, what if I had one of those and how would you? Oh, no, you're definitely right. Okay, thank you.
I knew it.
He's like, yeah, but that doesn't matter. I said, he's wrong, I'm right. So
I won.
So it's like, yeah, what does that get you?
Pride.
What are you talking about?
And then you feel terrible after.
Right. He's like, well, you're right, man. Your son is miserable with you. Mm-hmm. And maybe you know about that, but he was a drug addict. Your son is miserable with you. Did you hear him say that? Knowing that I had been miserable with him at the time? Yeah. This is not to suggest that any child should bully their parent. But if you don't want me to be miserable with you, this is not to suggest that. But because I think the same thing has to be levied in relationship. I think children have to be responsible for the relationships that they do with their parents. Right. And I think more so than how my dad did show up, there was a quality that I didn't present him. Well, how good was Henry? Right. And that's not usually something we consider.
So no, it's not. Yeah. Well, you're telling me the story. All of the knowledge that my dad did have to give, the things that he was nailing, that he was proficient, streamlined, he had all his processes down. I didn't have the capacity to take it in. He was always trying to give it to me. Up until he passed away, help me budget or things like that, that I just like, no, Dad, I got this.
My dad was always like, this is what you do with stocks, this is what you do with finance, this is what you do, man, do this, do this, do this. And I was like, all I could hear was, do this to be like me. And I was like, yeah, I'm good on that. And for my children, for my brothers, for my brothers in the community, my brothers in arms, it's not do this so you can be like me. It's do this so that you can be better than me. Because if I knew at your age what I know now, I would not be in this position. I'd be so far ahead of the curve. Right. And he loved me so much that he wanted me ahead of the curve. Yeah. Not so that I could be like him, but so that I wouldn't have to scramble like him. Right. And I could have done it at 20, but he was doing it at 60. I could have done it at 40. For his grandchildren, you can do it at 20. So you're 40 years ahead of the curve. Right? Do it at 40, so you're 20 years ahead of the curve. What he was suggesting is don't wait till you're my age. Right. Right. And so when I talk to my children, it's not do that so that you can be more like me. Of course, I'll be proud of you, but you don't have to earn my pride. You already have my love. Right. It is, do it there. Do it at 15. Do it at 20. Right? Do it at 17. Do it where you are so that you don't have to wait to get 40 to figure life out.
That is the majority of my parenting now, is me telling them it's more confessional. I'm confessing all of the things that I screwed up royally. And if I think they could do it now, that's what the advice that I'm giving. Like, learn this lesson now, man, because this really screwed me in life.
Dad, no one's trying to hear that right now. I'm 22. Dude, I love you so much. I want to throw that 2K in the trash. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. This is a gift for me. You don't even know it. And until someone is in the space to receive it, you're not going to get it. And it's like, to the depression of a parent, to say, hey, I have the answer for my child, but my child's going to have to go through their own experience that may lead to some heartbreak of their own. Because really, my father was just trying to spare me the stress of financial woes. He was trying to spare me the stress of relationships and all the things. And it would have been so much easier if I listened. Because now, at 40, I moved like my dad. At 40, it didn't probably make sense. At 40, the things I didn't like about my dad when I was 20. I'm like, oh no, I get it. And he was unapologetic in how he moved. And I didn't like that either. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man has to be able to stand on his moral compass. And again,
stick to what he says.
He wasn't perfect. He didn't have to be because my job wasn't to judge him. My job was to be his son. Okay. And oftentimes we think if we have a parent, that makes us the report card and record keeper of parenting.
Not you.
No, your job is not to grade your parent.
Yeah.
You know what? Mom didn't show up for me here. Dad didn't show up there. Dad didn't come here. Mom didn't talk to Dad about this. Life would have been so much better if Mom and Dad had to figure this out sooner. Listen, your journal should not be the score you're keeping on your parents' performance.
Grievances on your parents.
That's not right. Children, sons, daughters, please hear this. Which camera? 1, 2, where we at? Right? Which camera do you want me to look in? It's not your job as a son or daughter to log and document your grievances against your parent. The most appropriate response would be from the first position of the relationship, which would be, my parent has done this. How can I respond as a son?
Effectively, how do I correctly respond?
What does a child do? And teenager, everyone feels like they're grown. What does a person who is a son or daughter do in this moment that would be honorable to the posture and relationship of a son or a daughter?
You have to consider somebody else's feelings.
That's right.
As a child. Mm-hmm. I think that we all do that.
We don't have the capacity for imagining how Dad feels. It's like, no,
I still need my thing.
Dad should imagine how I feel right now. So it's very one-sided. Now, if we take those one-sided relationships where I'm here as a child, I'm 15, I'm 17, I'm 19, I'm 20, because those are when we form our opinions of our parent for real. Yeah. But they still have a chance to make it right for you. Right? If they just do the thing you want, you can still make it right. Right? But we have our hand out and we expect a new relationship to benefit us. But now you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. So you're dating now. You move with that same mind of the relationship is supposed to benefit me.
What are you giving me?
And so your contribution to the relationship is usually lackluster.
Very accurate, because you're like, I'm here. What? Can you do all those things that my mom does for me?
Right. Or doesn't? Or can you compensate for what mom doesn't do?
Right.
Or can you compensate for what dad doesn't do? So dad's not here, so I'm clingy. Mom's wasn't there, so I'm clingy, and I need you to be able to compensate for those things. And so now we have these quirks that are unresolved childhood trauma. And we're usually acting very childish in relationships because we didn't learn how to love our parents. We didn't learn how to love mom. We didn't learn how to love dad.
Right.
And when you come to grips with that, you can be in a marriage and still be very childish. You can have children and still be moving with a very childish mentality.
Well, from our homes that we grow up in, the household roles of a man and a woman are kind of, that's where our values come from. We come up, so we can't do anything else, but that's what we know. We get into our relationship.
Mimic those things,
right?
And how we have that environment and how we responded to it,
right?
And so now, when the parent says, "Hey, your response is a little off," and someone else says, "Well, your response is good enough for me,"
I need another opinion.
I think I'm moving out. I think that's going to be my meal ticket. I think if I don't have to listen to this, and this is going to be okay, I think I'm going to. So that's already hard enough. Imagine if you grew up with split homes, with mom and dad aren't together, dynamics, or if they're on that first generation parenting and grew up with grandma, or you grew up with granddad, or aunts and uncles, and there's abuse in those environments. It's like there's so many different dynamics that require conversation. Many times, professional assistance to help us guide through what may be the steps of realization, so that we can be able to respond in a way that shows who we are as sons and daughters, versus just what we want from our parents.
You think that's possible as a 17, 18-year-old kid to have that capacity?
I don't think it's possible on your own. I think as 17, 18-year-old, you need assistant voices. You need godparents. You need grandparents. You
Bunch of people reinforcing things.
It takes the village.
It does.
Right?
It really does.
You need those. I used to be proud, and my sons are sick of it by now. Guys would come up. Is your dad? Oh, you need to listen to your dad. Yeah. I listen to your dad. You should definitely listen to your dad. They're like, because he doesn't make you watch the dishes. Right. Right? Yeah. They're watching this podcast about facts.
My son's, a couple of my son's friends watch the podcast, listen to the podcast. Shout out to Lonnie's friends.
Shout out to Lonnie's friends. Yes. Lonnie, I appreciate you putting your friends on. Justin, thank you for putting bass on. Jaden, hold it down there from Little Bit High. Thank you for putting the team on. So we're excited. And if we can just advance the conversation forward, even if we can start thinking that you have responsibility as a son, than just to demand something.
And that's a wrap on another insightful episode of Thoughtful Thursdays on the Almost Above Average podcast with Chris McIntyre and Dr. Joe Shepard. Today we delved into the fascinating world of parenting, comparing how our children are growing up today to our own childhoods. From the hilarious quirks to the not-so-funny moments of turning into our dads. It was a roller coaster of emotions and laughter. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Now we want to hear from you. Share this episode with a loved one and spark some meaningful conversations about parenting and growing up. Don't forget to subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Do you have a burning question for Dr. Joe Shepard? We'd love to hear from you. Contact the show and submit your question at mcmedia.network.llc@gmail.com. And who knows, your question might just be featured on the next episode of Thoughtful Thursdays with Dr. Joe Shepard.
Almost Above Average.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Almost Above Average podcast. Until next time, remember to cherish every moment, laugh a little louder, and keep those thoughtful conversations going. This is your host signing off. Stay amazing, stay thoughtful, stay almost above average.